Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Should You Play, where I show you some spoiler-free gameplay and give you my thoughts after playing new games for a few hours, while also highlighting and checking out at least one of the PlayStation Plus games for each month. In this video I'm playing one of the July 2025 PlayStation Plus games, Jusant, the climbing puzzle platformer that originally released in 2023. When Jusant first released, it got tons of positive feedback from gamers and reviewers alike, but unfortunately it didn't do very well commercially, and I'm not surprised to hear that because as much as I think I'm in the know, I hadn't heard about it until it was announced as a PS Plus title. Despite the poor sales though, Jusant is in fact a pretty great game from start to finish, and I think more gamers should give it a chance, so let's just get into it. In Jusant, you play as an unnamed protagonist who's been tasked with climbing up a massive and mysterious tower that's broken up into several different biomes. The story isn't told through dialogue or traditional cutscenes, and is instead conveyed entirely through environmental storytelling, scattered notes, and some scenic imagery over the course of 6 chapters. There's no spoken dialogue at all, outside of a few vocal sound effects, but even without words, the game does a great job at evoking emotion and building its world. Rather than focusing on character interactions or plot twists, the story is more about tone, atmosphere, and interpretation, and it trusts you to piece things together on your own while lending a guiding hand. So Jusant is a third-person climbing platformer where nearly all of the gameplay revolves around vertical movement, whether it's grabbing ledges, scaling surfaces, or using tools like carabiners to ascend higher and higher. Despite how stressful climbing sections can be in other games, the controls here are very precise, with each trigger controlling one of your character's hands, and once you get used to it, it feels incredibly smooth. There's no fall damage or death, and since it's near impossible to accidentally walk off a ledge, the gameplay experience remains stress-free and forgiving. Falling from a foothold can still set you back a bit, but there are very few situations throughout the game where it'll cost you more than 10 or so seconds to get back to where you were. You'll also need to keep an eye on your rope length as well as your overall stamina, but as long as you're being mindful of them, you shouldn't have any issues. Each chapter of the game introduces new mechanics to keep things fresh. Early on, the game mechanics are incredibly simple to get a grasp of, so much so that I was worried that the game might be too easy. But as you progress, it adds layers of complexity and challenge without ever becoming overwhelming. At the end of the first chapter, you also unlock a mechanic that gives you an indicator as to where you need to be going, but the level design is clean enough that I rarely ever felt lost, even after going down optional pathways. On that topic, there are a ton of collectibles in the game as well, including shells, notes, and other environmental pieces. The collectibles are completely optional, but I do recommend trying to find them as, at the very least, the notes and letters add a lot of flavor to the world if you're trying to figure out what's going on. If you are planning to go after them, just be aware that Jusant is very much a forward-only game, and outside of the chapter select option, you won't have too many opportunities to backtrack if you miss something. Altogether, Jusant offers some really solid gameplay. The whole game is built around climbing, a mechanic that many players would probably agree is often clunky or underdeveloped in a lot of other games, but here it's fluid and challenging without ever being agitating. If any part of the game does begin to feel too difficult though, there are a bunch of items within the accessibility menu that let you switch on or off options such as stamina or simplified climbing. Personally, I never felt the need to use any of them myself, but it's nice that the option is there so that players who are struggling a bit don't need to repeat sections over and over again. Jusant also has a very unique visual style to it. Everything has this painterly and undefined appearance at first, but the closer you look, the more you'll notice the high level of detail and polish that's actually there. The lighting is especially impressive and even plays into some of the gameplay mechanics later on, creating some dynamic moments as you move your way through the shadowy caves or sunlit cliffs. The music is another strong point too. Early in the game, it's very light and understated, designed more to complement the atmosphere than to stand on its own, but as you go on, it'll start to become more prominent, helping keep the experience calm even when the climbing gets tense. The game really leans into being meditative, not just through its music and visuals, but with deliberate pacing too. With no enemies, no sense of urgency, and only a few brief time sections, Jusant encourages you to breathe, take in the sights, and enjoy the journey upward rather than race towards a finish line. It's a calm and focused experience that makes its presentation one of the stronger aspects of an already strong game, even if there are some stressful moments here and there. As far as the game's performance goes, it's incredibly well polished. Fast load times, no crashes, no texture pop-ins, and zero bugs that interfered with my gameplay. I did notice a couple of minor physics quirks while climbing, like getting stuck momentarily or reacting oddly to the environment while climbing, but they lasted mere seconds out of about 3 hours of gameplay. Other players have reported some stuttering during cutscenes when the camera angles changed, but I only had one instance of that, and it never happened during gameplay. The only other thing worth mentioning is that the unskippable cutscenes when you collect a shell are a little too long and don't add a whole lot to the experience in my opinion, but that'd be more of a gameplay issue than a performance one. Aside from those minor issues, it runs like a near-perfect game though. Jusant is a short, relaxing, and beautifully crafted game that manages to be both meditative and occasionally nerve-wracking. It doesn't have a ton of traditional fun moments, but it's an enjoyable and rewarding experience that manages to challenge you in a low-pressure kind of way. The entire game only takes a few hours to finish, and I actually got my Platinum trophy in about 3 hours of playtime, but it never felt like it was dragging or rushing its way to the finish line. If you've enjoyed games like Abzu or Journey for their relaxing vibes and traversal mechanics, you'll probably enjoy this as well, but if you have a PlayStation Plus subscription for July 2025, it'll be free to check out either way, and I personally have to recommend it. As always though, this is just my opinion. Whether you've just reached the foot of the tower, or you've already made your way to the very top, let me know in the comments what you think of Jusant. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.